organizers for inviting us to this event. I'm enjoying it so far. It's really nice to hear both sides of this equation as someone on the commercial side of it. And to kind of go with the point of what we're going to be talking about today, I am a representative from 3i, one of the commercial partners for the Lattice light sheet, and I'm going to be highlighting why you would want to buy one from us. I'm just going to do a really quick introduction of who we are as a company. Not everyone knows out in the world, and then really just go into the system itself and its key features and how we've evolved it over time. We are a company that is 25 years old. We started off as a software company back in the mid-90s with digital deconvolution that branched out into hardware integration and then hardware manufacturing. The Lattice entered our world in 2015 after working with Genelia and the Betzig lab themselves to really bring the system kind of out right away to the community. And you'll hear me talk about that more in a couple minutes. As a company, we do have a global presence. I am in Denver, Colorado in the US. But we have offices around the US, in Europe, in Asia, and in Australia. And we don't just do Lattice light sheets, even though that's the point of what we're doing today. We do offer wide field systems, spinning disks, multiphotons, other light sheets, some adaptive optics stuff that we just started working on last year that you can kind of see there at the end of the timeline. I'm happy to talk about all of that at a later time. But what about the Lattice itself? What are the key features of our Lattice light sheet that are different from specifically the home built systems? And that are certain key features that we've made pretty easy to use, in my opinion. And that includes things like structured illumination or SIM. So you can really do super resolution in a much easier way than a lot of people might expect. We've recently added the ability to do photo manipulation or for FRAP and photo conversion using a 2-axis scanning unit that we've used in a lot of our other devices. We call it Vector 2. We've added that and integrated it into the Lattice. So you can do all of those traditional photo manipulation experiments while still imaging with a Lattice. We have a 2-camera option. So you can do faster multicolor imaging. There's no filter wheel involved. You can just get better spectral separation of closely excited or off excitation fluorophores. And we're happy to integrate the brand new, well, relatively brand new now, COVID makes time feel a lot longer, Hamamatsu Fusion BT SCMOS. It's the most sensitive CMOS camera out there with really low read noise and really fast imaging allowed. Our system can hold up to 6 lasers for most of the visible spectrum there. And those lasers can be offered up to 2 watts. We have groups that are interested in single molecule localization microscopy, and they really need to push that power envelope. So we're happy to provide high powered lasers, as well as provide gentler lasers for groups that are just interested in more traditional cell biology. The system itself also has 17 different light sheets for really great sample flexibility and kind of size selection. Now, when it comes to how we've reached the system we have here today, it's been 6 years for us. We started working on exact replicas or clones, as we call them, of the Betzig system. That was part of our agreement in getting this license. And we released systems right away in 2016 to groups that were interested in being part of an early adopter system that were excited to try this novel technology. Over time, we've started developing and adding additions and making it easier to use. And it, kind of culminated in this version 2 system here that we use today. But an important point is any group that initially joined us and initially wanted one right out of the gate was able to get these version 2 upgrades. So we had an upgrade program where we went back and took all of those original systems and did an iterative process where now every system that we have out there in the field, we have more than 30 of them, have this current gen system with some features that I'll talk about next. The focus of this was to make this easier to use and more optically stable. So we motorized some things like the annular mask for changing that light sheet. So instead of a fixed plate that you have to move with some micrometers, it's just a click of a button in the software. We have the ability to have, like I said, up to 6 lasers and motorization of the sample chamber for really easy sample loading. And the objectives are now fixed. You're not lifting the objectives up anymore and loading your sample. You just click a button, stage drops, you load your sample into the bath and continue on up. There's some ease of use features like the LED epifluorescence and bright field just for easier sample finding. Solid state heating, including an optional incubation system from our partners at Oko Lab. Like I said, up to 2 cameras and a significantly more enclosed beam path for better stability. It's all sitting next to me here today as well. I have the door off, but it sits in a full enclosure for even more laser safety and stability. All of this also runs through our software slide book. So the initial system was running in a lattice scope It's a LabVIEW wrapper. And we wanted to make sure that we could get all of the acquisition and analysis into our software slidebook. So on the acquisition side, we have really easy to use presets for doing alignment checks, for capturing PSFs, for preparing and analyzing SIM data, and really user customizable presets for biological samples. There's features like light sheet tracking that functions as an autofocus to keep your sample nice and in focus for those multiple hour, sometimes overnight captures. Really easy and integrated SLM pattern generation for not only selecting exactly what annular mask position you want to use, but making different patterns if you desire. We have, like I said, the easy SIM acquisition and processing, and then we've worked with some partners to integrate some other rendering softwares and some fast 3D deconvolution. Something else I'd really like to highlight, going back to the 30 plus we have in the field, is we have quite extensive groups publishing great papers on this system. So you can see there's 17 papers here listed, all published using the 3i Lattice light sheet, some of which had data from other systems as well. But I want to highlight here both the variety of data that you can see here, things like vesicle trafficking up to leukocyte migration and zebrafish, and the high impact papers that or journals that these articles are published in. So really just great community that was able to take a system that can be initially seen as complicated to use and get it out there and make it more easy to use. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. This is my email and my Twitter handle if you want to follow me or send me a link on there. We have the ability to do remote demonstrations. I'm sitting next to my system here in our demo facility in Denver, and I'm happy to work with anyone if someone wants to see the system in more depth remotely. And as I answer questions, I'm going to be playing some data in the background because it's exciting.